Hey, how's it going, universe? Welcome to another daily video. Today we're going to be talking about 2019/2020's VFW. It's an action horror movie directed by Joe Begos, written by Max Brallier and Matthew McArdle, stars a bevy of character actors from the past 40 years. Some of them are Stephen Lang, William Sadler, Fred Williamson, Martin Cove, David Patrick Kelly, George Wendt, Tom Williamson, Sierra McCormick, Travis Hammer, Dora Madison, Graham Skipper, and others. So this is a little independent, small budgeted movies. One of these kind of fake grindhouse movies that they kind of started making like 10 years ago. If you remember, like Hobo with a Shotgun kind of started almost started like a movement. Came from Canada, those damn Canucks, and then they all moved to Austin, and now this is what they do. They make these kind of movies. This is, I believe, the first movie under the Fangoria banner, the new Fangoria banner. I could be wrong about that. Might have been Satanic Panic might have come out first, but Fangoria is starting to put their name on movies. These little kind of micro budget movies, but they have usually interesting casts or some sort of draw, and this is definitely the reason to watch this, is the cast. It's so good. The chemistry between the actors, the performances. I mean, these guys are just veterans, no pun intended, of the industry and working on these kinds of movies over the years. You know, Fred Williamson, for Christ's sakes, exploitation legend. Always apparently very handsy, but maybe we'll talk about that later. The synopsis is: a group of war veterans must defend their local VFW post and an innocent teen against a deranged drug dealer and his relentless army of punk mutants. So this is basically a siege movie. And what made me want to watch it, revisit it, this is the second time I've watched it, was all the stuff that's going on with autonomous zones and the Antifa or whoever the fuck out there, these weird little left-wing militias that are out there developing and trying to make their own little states that are within cities and whatnot. I mean, granted, if you listen to the media, like, oh, these peaceful protesters, that's like if you were to watch this movie and you would have these deranged kind of dystopian punks out there, and you were just like, yes, these old men were besieged upon by a bunch of peaceful protesters. It's just, I don't know, the dissonance is a little strange, but I guess that's neither here nor there. Not, well, kind of is, I guess. But yeah, so I was just thinking about it. I had purchased it recently because it was $10 at Walmart, and I was like, yeah, let's watch VFW. It'd be a fun movie to talk about just in this kind of modern context. And then there was a bunch of controversy that went on with Cinestate and Fangoria and what happened on the set of VFW. I don't know if I'm going to get into that stuff, but maybe I'll do a separate video because it would be a nice little rant. But yeah, so this is a pretty decent movie for what it is. Very straightforward. Very much is what it is. Somebody should be cutting John Carpenter a check. You guys got to stop just doing fucking remakes of other people's movies. I'm telling you, there's a generation of filmmaker right now, probably people my age, that all they do is do imitations of things they saw when they were 15. That's what they do. And it's getting a little old hat. Like, I like to support indie movies. I like to support small people, the people that are coming up. But it's just getting fucking tiring at this point. I want to see some sort of unique vision. Now, in fairness to the director here, this is Joe Begos' fourth movie. The movie that came out before this, or he made right before this, is called Bliss. I was not a huge fan of Bliss, but I will tell you this. It at least indicates to me that he has the ability to do something unique and of his own voice. And so when you see things like VFW, and he did a few other movies called The Mind's Eye and Almost Human, which are kind of like these Carpenter ripoffs. Not Carpenter, I mean Cronenberg. They're kind of like Scanners ripoff, especially The Mind's Eye. And so to see that he's actually seems like he's going to be doing some interesting things in the future. So I will always, if I see his name on something, it'll make me interested at the very least, even if I don't like everything he does. I think this is a very much a Carpenter, like Assault on Precinct 13 kind of vibe. Almost to the fact, it almost makes the movie boring because it's cut from a very specific mold. and he executes on that. I think he achieves it largely. I think he achieves it. It's just it's a fun movie. It's got some good gore. Like if you like that kind of stuff, the splattering is fun. Like I said before, the performances are the reason to watch the movie. If some of my criticisms, some of the cinematography is kind of awful, and I understand, it's a low budget movie. They filmed this in a real VFW for the most part. It's a very dark movie. Almost to the point like it's hard to see what is going on at times. I don't know if that was intentional. I'd be surprised if it was completely intentional. I know it's supposed to like, look like an 80s dystopian sci-fi fucking movie where it's all neon lights and the color palette is very much like, the neon reds and the blues. So they were definitely going for a very specific look. I just don't think that it's always successful. And because I can't see what's going on. Maybe that's just me. I don't know if that's something that would hold true for everybody else. But the story itself, like I said, it's kind of rote. It's maybe even a little bit boring. The pacing is a little not great. Not in a way that I think it totally lost me, though, because it's like a 90-minute movie. So it has enough kind of escalation of action and things going on to keep it interesting. It's more of a character piece than you would expect. It's a low-budget movie, so they got to hold their big moments for when, for the right time. So there's a lot of talking, a lot of character interaction. The opening 20 minutes are basically just getting to know the characters that you're about to spend the rest of the movie with. And it's probably the best part of the movie, to be honest with you. Once the attacks start happening, you're like, okay, this is fine. It kind of is one of these things where it is what it is. And I don't know, either you're going to like that or you're not. I'm definitely somewhere in the middle on VFW. I'm a little lukewarm on it, even watching it again. Because when I first saw it, I felt that way too. I was like, oh, this is okay. Like, it's not my favorite thing ever, but like this was a decent effort. And then I watched it again and I kind of feel exactly the same way. There's just not a lot there. There's not a lot going on. I do appreciate this kind of it's almost like millennials versus old timers type of vibe that's going on that they don't really explore, do anything with in any kind of interesting way. It's just kind of the shallow thing where these are all veterans of different wars and they're like in a brotherhood because it's all old guys and then two young people that are on the the good guy's side, the young guy is a soldier as well and he just came home. The way the universe is kind of set up is it's like slightly dystopian. Things are kind of on the periphery of falling apart and there's these street gangs that have kind of taken over. It's kind of like what's going on in Seattle, right? Like these autonomous zone people. Granted, I'm not saying the people in Seattle are this out there, but they could get there, right? Once Raz the warlord, once he keeps going, he establishes his fiefdom. Maybe we'll see this. I don't know. Maybe we will. Maybe the hyper drug or whatever the fuck it's called in this movie, maybe it'll start spreading in the Chaz. Hell yeah. So there is those elements there. They didn't really do much with them, which I thought was unfortunate. Because there is this theme about kind of elderly people not being respected, not being remembered, not being listened to. This kind of feels like what the kind of the subtext of the movie is. And it just, I don't know, it just doesn't do anything with it. And it literally has to fucking say it out loud. Fred Williamson literally has a line where he's like, I don't know if you were listening to me because old people don't listen to old people. Like, I got it, man. Like, you didn't need to say it. Or maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did in this movie. It's so light on everything else. But I did enjoy the performances. Like I said, that is the reason to watch the movie. Everybody's great. Everybody looks like they had a really good time making the movie as well. William Sadler steals the movie. Steals it right out from under Stephen Lang, who is also very good. Don't get me wrong. Stephen Lang's really good in this movie. He's a great lead. But as the kind of the dirty old man sidekick, Bill Sadler fucking rocks it. What else? Well, so there's some controversy, I guess. Fred Williamson, exploitation legend, Fred Williamson, independent. Actually, I would say independent cinema legend, right? This is the guy that fucking went into the grind and made some bad action movies in the 70s starring himself. Apparently, he was a little handsy on the set, and I guess it wasn't addressed when the film was made, and then there was this controversy that came out with the one of the companies involved with the production is called Cinestate, and Cinestate's like this Austin-based production studio, and they're kind of center right-ish, like openly that way. Like the whole point of Cinestate is to be counterculture to the predominant mindset, the predominant ideological positioning of Hollywood studios. And they just kind of got lambasted recently because somebody that worked at their company ended up being a creep. So that obviously means the entire thing is creep central, and they're basically trying to destroy themselves. They've been working for years building up like the new Fangoria. They had this other website that was kind of like the action movie Western cult classic kind of version of Fangoria that just talked about those movies. They had a website for that, which was really good. I used to actually even pay money for it. $2 a month. That's not too bad. Read a bunch of good stuff. A lot of good writers there. And they're just all shutting it all down because the people that work at these places are kind of spineless and lack perspective. And they think that everybody should cater to... Like, they think... It's almost like you think that the world should be fucking perfect. Like, the things that happen on the set is like Fred Williamson tries to goose somebody. Apparently, like that's it. That's what happened. Maybe said a few crude things and try to goose like a girl that worked in costuming, I think. Not saying that's right, not saying that's okay or somebody should be treated that way, but you got to put this shit into perspective. And then you have a movie that is literally celebrating dirty old men. And that happened on your set. I mean, that's the whole thing. The whole thing with these guys. They're crude, they're rude, they're alcoholics, they're talking about dirty jokes. They're hanging out at the VFW watching fucking fitness videos with girls squatting in front of them. That's the movie. And you're like, and it's shocking. Like, people are shocked. Like, oh my God, like, why would they act this way? It's like, well, you kind of engendered an environment where that might happen. It might happen. Yeah, but apparently the director like distanced himself, saying like, "Whoa, I had no idea." Like, okay, all right, guy. Like the director with the fucking set this small doesn't know what's going on. Come on, give me a break, dude. So they're trying to pin it on the guy who owns Cinestate and his co-producer as these negligent bosses that allow these things to happen on their sets, and it's just so fucking slimy. It's so obviously like a partisan hit piece. Like, the idea that like there isn't just creeps like this rampant in every fucking movie studio in the country. Let's go do some fucking investigative journalism, people. Why don't you go look into some of these companies and some of the shit that's happened there. Like, it was very disingenuous, and it kind of bummed me out too, because I really enjoy the movies Cinestate puts out. They put out these kind of counterculture movies, these counter to the popular culture movies, or counter to the... I hate to put it in like right left terms, but they're just a counter to like the most like these milquetoast left wing movies. And I hate putting it that way because I'll be honest with you, I don't really give a shit. I don't give a shit if somebody's right wing or left wing. Just make me a good movie. And I don't even have to like it. I can still tell you if it's a good movie, whether or not I actually like it. I have objective standards for when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, they were putting out some great movies. Some of my favorite movies from the past couple of years: Dragged Across Concrete, Brawl in Cell Block 99, Bone Tomahawk, all the S. Craig Zoller movies. Now where's S. Craig Zoller going to get work if Cinestate's not around? They also did this other great little mystery action movie called the Standoff at Sparrow Creek, I believe. Can't remember who directed that. I'll talk about that at one of these days. That would be an interesting one to talk about, especially in the era of militias and Antifa groups and autonomous zones. It's another one. It'd be an interesting conversation. Yeah, but it just bummed me out that they're just gonna fucking, and they're wrecking it themselves, because they're all of the people that are the editors and the writers, and they're all spineless hacks. So, you know, a lot of the writers and stuff, especially for when it came to the horror stuff, Fangoria. I mean, granted, my wife surprised me with a subscription to Fangoria. I've only received one magazine, so I guess we're probably not going to be getting any more. So there's your $80, assholes. But, you know, it's fucking, most of the writing in there is bad. Most of it isn't very interesting. It's just people that want to reframe everything through the lens of 2020 social mores, while also celebrating these things. So they lionize and mythologize the way these movies and the way they were made, which is like old cult movies, old horror movies, old exploitation movies. They celebrate and lionize that stuff. Like, what are you talking about? What do you think was going on back then when they were making movies? As far as these people are concerned, they should just quit the business. Why would you want to involve yourself in talking about these kind of productions? Oh my goodness. Like, you did, it's, I don't know. There's kind of a dissonance there that just bothers me. Gets under my skin. And it also bothers me because it's just not, it does a disservice to genre films, both past and present. It kind of props up mediocrity. I don't understand what the fuck happened. Just woke culture is just destroying. That's a wild overstatement, but they're destroying my childhood. No, it just sucks being kind of wanting to be involved in like a film community. It just sucks now. Like, it's not interesting on any level. Like, you know, I've mentioned this before, but like, you know, I got on a couple blogs. I was doing some writing, making some headway, and I just pieced out. As soon as you start talking to these people, it's just fucking mind-numbing, and you get the biggest headache. Just because they can rattle off factoids about a fucking random production does not make what they have to say about it interesting. And everything's through this fucking narcissistic, selfish lens. They don't talk about the piece. They don't talk about the movie, the art. They don't take it on its own terms. Fucking irritates me. Sorry, I'm ranting. But I can't help it. I care. I care, guys. I care a little bit. You know, and starting to do this with the podcast and like doing these daily videos, it's made me reinvested my love of a good critique. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm part of that tradition, but I do think I give movies a pretty fair hearing. But like good critique, and also just falling back in love with filmmaking in general. So it bums me out that I kind of have nowhere to go. I'm kind of a man on my own island. But thankfully, you know, I've got some cool friends, old and new, come talk to me about this stuff, and we have some great conversation. We got some great stuff coming up this summer for a Zoobox Goes to the Movies, so I hope everybody is looking forward to that. But yeah, let's get back to VFW. VFW is, I think, if you like these kinds of movies in general, you'll probably be fine with this movie. It definitely feels like a very much so an imitation. It didn't feel very original. The voice really isn't there. It looks like a low budget movie. If you can overlook those things and you just want to see some Carpenter light, Assault on Precinct 13, like I said, maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you'll like it. I thought it was okay. It's one of those things that I would not recommend to like a general audience, right? You got to go in with these caveats, go in with understandings, and then maybe you'll be all right. Maybe you'll be okay with it. I tried to watch the commentary. I was like, oh, my son and I were hanging out and we were just like doodling, drawing, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just pop on the commentary, see what that's like. It's just, 10 minutes in, I was like, nope. This is just not a filmmaker. I need to hear the opinion, like his perspective, because they're like hipsters that think it's interesting to listen to them rip bongs and fucking giggle at their own movie and not really say very many interesting things. I don't know. That's my opinion. Maybe if I had made it all the way through, my opinion would be different. So maybe I'm being uncharitable. It does not start well. And I was just like, no, this is not interesting. But yeah. So, you know, I wish I loved it. I wanted to love it. I thought I was going to love it, kind of. You let me down, Joe Begos. But I'll still check out your stuff, man. I want to see where this guy goes. I want to see based off of Bliss, not off of VFW. Bliss, again, didn't love that movie either, but at least I felt it came from a unique voice, a vision. So Joe Begos, man to watch. VFW, okay. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for watching and listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, you want to keep up with everything Zoobox, links in the description for Facebook, Instagram, and my own personal Twitter. Well, how special. How special for you. Also, if you'd like to make a recommendation, you want to hear my thoughts about something, throw it in the comments. I'll put it on the list. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Goodbye.